You learn, when you study the history of the United States, you do not see the kind of country that we all learn about when we go to school, which is a kind of exaltation of America. We're not different, by the way, than other countries. Countries everywhere teach their history in a nationalist way. You know, they're all prideful of their flag and their anthem and, you know, their history. And the United States is no different, except that we're bigger and better and stronger. But we grow up in this country singing the Star-Spangled Banner and, you know, liberty and justice for pledging allegiance and all of that. We grow up with the idea that we are special, we are different, we are the Boy Scouts of the world. You know, we help countries across the street. You know, we're good. We have our little problems, like slavery, maybe. Maybe we weren't nice to the Native Americans. You know, we have our little problems, but basically we're okay. Well, when you look at the history of this country, we were not. We were not. We destroyed Indian civilizations. We expanded into the Caribbean. We expanded into the Pacific. We sent our young people to war again and again. We did not take care of poor people. When poor people organized, when workers organized into unions and went out on strike, the government called out the police and the National Guard and the Army to suppress their strikes. That's the history of labor struggles in this country. So it's not the kind of glorifying history that too many of us, you know, grew up with. And when I say that, and when anybody says something like that, there's a kind of fear of saying it. You're putting down our country. You're unpatriotic. No, I'm not putting down our country when I am honest about what our government has done. I'm putting down our government, yes, but there's a distinction between the government and the country. It's a very fundamental principle of democracy that the government and the country are not the same. The government and the people are not the same. That's the basic idea of the Declaration of Independence, which says governments are set up by the people. They're artificial creations. They're set up to achieve certain ends, the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, equality. And when governments become destructive of those ends, according to the words of the Declaration of Independence, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish the government. That's serious. Those are revolutionary words. But after all, it was a revolution. And there's something about a revolution that brings out some honesty and also brings out the idealistic language and hopes and dreams which may not be realized. Because, no, the dream of the Declaration of Independence was not realized, but it's there. It's telling us that governments are not to be obeyed simply because they're governments. To be patriotic is not to simply do what the government says. To be patriotic is to subscribe to the principles of the Declaration of Independence, to check up on the government to see if it really is fulfilling its obligation to take care of our right to equality, to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Patriotism, in the best sense of the term, means following those principles. And when the government doesn't follow those principles, the government is being unpatriotic. So we must be honest about ourselves, about our history, about the history of our government. And I think that maybe we need some confession on the part of our government leaders, an acknowledgement, you know, like in Alcoholics Anonymous, where they get up before, you know, and confess, yeah, maybe, you know, Cheney and Bush and the others should get up, you know, form a group called Imperialists Anonymous, and tell the truth, and that is what they're aiming for in the Middle East is not democracy and not liberty, and they don't really care about the overthrow of tyrants like Saddam Hussein. Our government has supported tyrants all over the world. No, what they really care about, It's hard to say this, isn't it? Oil. It seems so mean, so cheap, although the oil won't be cheap. But it seems, really it's just oil? Yes, it's oil. History comes in handy there. The history of American policy towards the Middle East has been based on the desire to control the oil resources of the Middle East. That's been true ever since the end of World War II. Ever since President Roosevelt got together with Ibn Saud of Saudi Arabia and they made a deal. The United States will replace the old oil powers, the Dutch and the British and the French in the Middle East. And in return, the United States will support the Ibn Saud government. Talk about democracy. The Ibn Saud government, the Saudi government, government of Saudi Arabia, all these years has been as far from democracy as you can find. But we did not invade Saudi Arabia to give democracy to Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia gives us oil and is our ally in our quest for oil in the Middle East.